This is Life Transformation Radio. Prepare to engage. Seatbelt activated. Download initiated. Your quantum journey of transformation begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Hi, I'm Rob Actis, best-selling author of The Law of Action, voice actor, business mindset coach, the podcast whisperer, and Mr. Action himself. Here at Life Transformation Radio, we are committed to share more about real life, love, the power of positivity, romance, of course, laughter. We care about helping others find their internal drive and purpose. We celebrate life's challenges and overcoming them. Now on the show, my guests are amazing people who are forces for good in the world around them and live a life of transformation. My guest today, well, he does just that. Today, my dear friend Chris Van Vliet and I discuss why you should dream big. If you want to understand the limits that come with vague goals, learn how to dream big and know that whatever you put your mind to is absolutely 100% possible, this is the show for you. My friend Chris is a 4-time Emmy Award-winning TV host, entertainment reporter, YouTuber based in Los Angeles. He's traveled the world reporting for events like the Oscars, the Grammys, Cannes Film Festival, little events just like that. You may be familiar with the interviews that Chris posts on YouTube. Just to call them interviews doesn't seem fair because they are so much more than that. If you check them out, you'll know what I mean. He dives deep into interesting topics with his trademark conversational approach that makes it feel like two old friends are catching up. And you know what? We're going to do that trademark approach because that's what we are, two friends catching up. Now, this is the case whether it's a wrestling superstar like John Cena, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, or a Hollywood A-lister like Oprah Winfrey, Tom Cruise, or even Will Smith. Hey, Chris, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Man, so good to see you, Rob. Thank you for such a kind and generous introduction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're just a really good guy. I watch you on TikTok and you have access to just really incredible guests. It's fascinating to me that you're there. But what I like to dive deep into is, where did it happen? Where was the transformation? I know when I was a kid, I was 4 or 5, and I said, I want to talk on TV.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. Little did I know what that meant, but that's what I wanted to do. So was it a long process, or did you all of a sudden, when you're in your teens or your 20s, just go, I'm going to start interviewing people?
I mean, just like you, Rob, it started super early. I had a Fisher-Price tape recorder, like with actual cassette tapes.
Exactly. Oh,
right?
Yes.
And I would pretend to be the radio DJs that I heard on the radio. And
a mano, brother.
I love this. Oh my gosh. If we were in person, I'd be hugging you right now.
I know. Well, we hugged at Bottle Rock, and that was super fun. So,
and we will hug the next time we see each other too.
Yes, we will. Yeah, it's, people look at people and they think, oh my God, you're an overnight success. A lot of people in the entertainment industry and in the interview and the news and, that type of space, we have wanted to do it since we were born. It's in our DNA. And I knew, and we never had this conversation, but I just had a feeling that's what it was for you, because it's different for people that have it in their DNA.
I just always loved presenting. I always loved being in front of the class doing something. Like, I ran for vice president of the student council in high school because that was the person who got to do the morning announcements. And I viewed the morning announcements as my own personal radio show for 2,000 people in my high school. So that's kind of where it began. In high school, we also had a communication studies class, which I didn't know. They should probably call it like the You Make TV class, because communication studies doesn't sound nearly as attractive as like, you're going to go in. We had a TV studio, a little one inside our high school. And that's where I really fell in love with this. And I also realized like, this might be possible. I grew up just outside of Toronto in a town called Pickering, Ontario. And if I'm being completely honest, there's not a ton of opportunities to work in broadcasting when you live in Canada. There's just not as many cities, not as many markets there. But I was like, I'm going to do whatever I can to jam my foot in the door. And find an opportunity, or if I can't find an opportunity, I will create an opportunity. And that's kind of where it began for me.
That's wild. We are on the same path. So I remember in 6th grade, well, first of all, in 5th grade, I did magic because I love being in front of people. So I did magic.
Do you still know some of those tricks?
I do know. Yeah, you can see some of the like cups and balls and some other things in the background. Yeah. So, and then when I was in 6th grade, it was the Roadrunners. The school was the Roadrunners. And I used to MC in 6th grade on the microphone in front of the whole entire elementary school and announce the winner of the Roadrunner of the week. But I made the announcements. And then I went to junior high and I heard voices over the speakers, and I went and I was making announcements, and I did it all through junior high and senior high. And we had a TV station just like that. So same path. It's amazing.
Well, it's like the exact same path. And then, so for me, then when I went to college, I was studying communication studies because number one, that was what I was interested in from high school. But number two, I thought, man, if this doesn't work out, if the broadcasting dream doesn't work out, communication studies is at least broad enough that I could get into marketing or PR or something else.
Right.
And Rob, I had an epiphany in my senior year. I had the best time at college. I lived with 4 of my best friends. We drank copious amounts of beer. We lived the college life.
Nice.
And we decided if 10 a.m. was too early to go to class or not. And then I had this epiphany in my senior year. And I realized, man, we're going to have to work for the rest of our lives once we've graduated. And I decided in that exact moment that I didn't want to be one of those people who hated their job. I didn't want to be one of those people who couldn't appreciate Sunday because Monday was the next day. And I did everything in my power to stack the odds in my favor and try to at least line up an internship or a job when I graduated. And I reached out to every radio station and every TV station in my college town and just said, look, I'm a communication studies major, passionate about broadcasting. Can I just come in and see how it's done in the real world? And that's how it began. Like one radio station said, sure, yeah, why not? And that kind of got the ball rolling.
Okay. Did the fact you had an honors degree in communication studies have anything to do with getting your little foot in the door a little bit?
I honestly don't think that mattered. I think what they looked at was like, oh my gosh, like this person's going out of their way. And I think that there's a lot of people that, and you know this, a lot of people expect opportunities just come to them. And that's never going to happen, right? Like you have to go out and seek those opportunities. And I thought, how many other people are calling the local AM radio station and asking for a volunteer position? And I guess not very many. So I was like, the absolute worst thing that can happen is they say no. And then I'm in the exact same spot that I was before. And I'll just call someone else and ask again. But, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned in my entire career is you've got to ask. Because if you don't ask, then nothing can ever happen.
I'm all about authenticity and vulnerability. And I guess I'll share this story. I put it in my book. But here's the thing. I want to be in radio since I was a little kid. And we're growing up and doing it. I did mobile DJ. I had a DJ company. I mean, I was all in, right?
I love
And
that.
I was in the college radio station. And my buddy on the radio station, who's still my best friend, was working at B100 in San Diego. And it's so crazy that I actually thought that someone was going to knock on my door and say, hey, Rob, man, we want you on the radio. To the point is that I was doing other jobs. So like I worked for a company called Minolta. I sold copiers, telemarketed copiers. I just got the job there. My first month, I made $6,800. This was in the early 90s. A lot of money. They took out more money in taxes than I ever made in my life. It was crazy. And my buddy Tony said, hey, he goes, when are you going to work in radio? I go, I don't know. They haven't called yet. And I really believed that. I absolutely. And he goes,
wow.
Well, you're selling copiers. Why don't you get a job at a radio station? Yeah. And he had a job at a radio station. I never thought of getting a job at a radio station. And so that day, lunch, I went to the radio station. It was KFMB, B100, and Channel 8. It was a cluster. And I just said, hey, I'm looking for an opening. I'll do anything. And they go, well, we're looking for receptionists. And I go, great. And I said, how much does it pay? And they go, well, we only need you for 10 hours a week. And we pay, I think it was $3.11 an hour or something like that. So I went into my boss that right when I got back from lunch and I said, hey, I'm quitting.
Wow.
He goes, what do you mean? I go, I got a job at a radio station. That's my passion. He goes, do you know how much money you made this month? I go, yeah, that'll hold me for a little bit, but that's what I'm going to do. And I quit. I was there for another week and and then I got the job. And within a matter of a week, I made friends with everybody in the station and promotions and all that stuff and got my way back there and then eventually made it on the air in San Diego. But
what's not to love about Rob Actis, right?
Well, no, the lesson is that there's so many people that actually don't take action like you did.
Yeah.
It took a friend of mine to go, you're a freaking idiot. Like you need to get a job or even apply somewhere or even interact with a radio station. And there's so many people that their dreams are right there in front of them and they don't take that one step to get into action. And you did that.
I always say to people, just start. Like you have to start. You can't just sit there and expect things to come to you. And once you take that first step, the second one is that much easier. Then the third one is even easier than that. So yeah, for me, it was just like, these doors aren't going to open unless I knock on them. So I knocked on a lot of doors and got a lot of no's or no responses, but all you really need is just one yes.
Yeah. And that's the most amazing thing about life is that within action comes a consequence. So the consequence is you're not getting the job. So if you're afraid of getting turned down by you not applying or you not opening that door or knocking on that door, you've already created the result that you're afraid of getting.
Yeah. I'll tell you a really interesting story of how I got my first TV job. After I graduated, I kind of built my resume up. I had a few volunteer jobs. I was a board operator at
chiseled face helped with TV. I didn't get on TV, but that's okay. I did Shopping Channel, but that chiseled face of Chris Van Vliet. There you go.
You're too kind. That was always the goal. I always wanted to be on TV, and I honestly thought it was a long shot, but I wanted to put everything I had into it at 22 years old, 23 years old, that if it didn't work out, I could look back at 72 years old and go, well, I tried really hard. I exhausted every single possibility. Just didn't work out. But I kind of built out my resume a little bit, and then I was looking for an internship. I knew an internship might get me a demo reel that might possibly get me a job. Nobody got back to me about an internship. And then I scoured the internet. I found the email address for the general manager at Chex TV, this small station about an hour from where I lived in Peterborough, Ontario. And I sent him an email and said, it's spring break next week. I'm going to be in town. Could I come by and talk to you about a possible internship? And he's like, well, we don't normally do this at all unless it's affiliated with a college program and you're getting credits. But, if you're going to be in town, sure, come on by. And I showed up and he went, we don't normally do this, but why not? What the heck? That internship turned into 2 weeks later, me being on TV as an intern. They were using me as a reporter on TV. 2 months later, they hired me. And I was, up until that point, I was working my old high school job in the mall. I was working in the fish department of a pet store to pay for the gas to drive to my internship.
Those stories are so inspiring. I hope people that are listening right now really get the essence of that. There are so few people that actually take action in the entertainment industry, especially because they think there's no openings. And if you just show up, and a lot of times you can show up at the right time and you never know, but it's really all about relationships. Mm-hmm. And also when people see your passion, like if you genuinely have a passion for the craft and respect it, there's a lot of opportunity out there, a lot of opportunity.
And I think a lot of people, especially in the entertainment industry, are scared of rejection because,
my God.
Unlike any other industry, when you are an actor or a singer or a TV host or a radio personality, you are the product. So, when you're in sales and someone says, hey, your numbers aren't, that good, we have to let you go. That's not as big of a direct reflection on you. It's a reflection on like your work ethic.
Right.
But in this industry, if somebody doesn't like you, it feels very personal. And I think when you go out for an audition for a job that you think you were going to get and you don't get it, you're like, man, like what didn't they like about me? And that I think that's a really difficult thing to overcome.
Did you ever get fired?
Never been fired, but I had a show that we were on that got canceled just because it was like one big media conglomerate bought another one, came together, and our show ended up getting canceled.
And that's your story and you're sticking to it. You got fired.
Me and everybody else then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, getting fired in the entertainment industry is devastating because a lot of people in radio especially, it becomes your persona, it becomes who you are.
Yes.
And I got fired for my first radio job, and I started the #1 radio station in San Diego. And I didn't do anything wrong. They just wanted someone different. And I got fired. I didn't leave the house for a week. It was so devastating because I had no identity.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that in this industry, you tend to like your job is your identity. And it's really important to separate the two.
It's a difficult thing to do because your job in this industry isn't just the thing you do. It is so much of who you are as well.
Absolutely.
And on the flip side of that, you got the job because of who you are. And it's a very delicate balance there. And I've been dealing with this a little bit myself over the last few years. So like long story short, I left my daily job in Miami. I was hosting a TV show called Deco Drive, flying around the world, interviewing celebrities all around the world. And in 2019, I kind of realized that my YouTube channel, my podcast, were growing at a really big rate. And I wanted to do something on a bigger scale. And I decided that it was a very difficult decision, but I decided I was going to leave the job that I had, which was, Monday to Friday, very concrete job. And I really struggled for a little while going, man, the YouTube channel is great. And the podcast is really great, but there's something about that I miss of like going into an office, sitting on, in a TV studio. Yeah, it's amazing. It was the greatest decision I ever made because now I'm doing so many other things and working on so many other TV shows. But it's a really interesting thing how your identity can get tied up in that.
Yeah, it's tough because when you have that gig, because there's the feeling of unknown of like, well, what if it doesn't work? I kind of got this. And, there's no guarantee in entertainment. Like you can lose your gig like so fast. It's unbelievable. They make a decision and they're like, yeah, we're not going to fund this anymore. Or, you know what? We want this person. They, the ratings are down or what have you. They shaved their head. We don't like that. And they're gone. Or they put a mustache and a beard on and we're firing them. So.
You sound like you're speaking from experience that you shaved your head.
Yeah, no, I didn't shave my head. This is natural. It's not much more up there. I'm bald, baby. I'm bald. Bald is beautiful. I love it. It's so
bald
funny.
And beautiful.
Yeah, it's funny. So you made the leap and you went on your own. You moved from Florida to LA.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. Now, did you have anything lined up or the podcast and YouTube was just like, I'm going to follow Mr. Beast's footsteps and I'm going to make this happen?
Well, look, Mr. Beast is unfollowable. It's unbelievable what that guy's accomplished. It's incredible. For me, it was just that my YouTube channel was really gaining a lot of traction with the free time that I was working on. I was just taking my free time and working on my YouTube channel with the free time. And I thought to myself, what if that was reversed? What if I was putting most of my time into the YouTube channel? And I just kind of saw I also saw that, I was working for a news station and I loved my job, but I was kind of seeing the writing on the wall that less and less people were watching news and the audience was getting older and older and smaller. Right. So I think I was just kind of seeing what was in front of me and going, there's an opportunity here. And if I don't jump on this, it's not going to last forever. So LA was always the place I wanted to be. I was spending a lot of time in LA for work. I was probably in LA at least once a month doing various different interviews and red carpet coverage. It was like, well, that's where entertainment lives. I might as well live there too.
That was a big jump. That's a big jump. So did you have anything lined up? Just YouTube?
This was in July of 2020, by the way. So
I know. I knew that part, but I'm just, because we talked about that, and it's just like, that's a leap of faith. That is a significant leap of faith. And I hope that people that are listening will really ponder that, in that there's never the right time to make a leap of faith. Never the right time.
And if you wait for the right time, you'll be waiting forever. Yeah, because it never happens.
Over.
Yeah. So I think I, along with everybody else, believed that the pandemic was only going to be a few months, which is what we were told originally. So
yeah, me too. Yeah.
Right. Well, originally it was 2 weeks, right? And then it was like a month and then 2 months. So when I started looking at apartments in like May, I was like, all right, after like the 4th of July, like, I think that'll make sense. Move out like mid-July. Like, the sooner the better. I don't want to miss out on anything. And then I came out to LA, and like, I think the day I began the drive out is the day they decided to close outdoor dining and close gyms. And I was like, my goodness, like, what am I going to do? But to answer your question, I didn't have a job lined up. I just had a lot of contacts. I had an agent in LA, and that was it. I also wrote down on a piece of paper how many of my friends, colleagues, acquaintances lived in LA, and it far outnumbered any other city. And I went, well, it just makes sense now. You know, if nothing else, I'll have a good support system around me.
Yeah. And I think it's important to really bring to fruition as a fact that the most talented person in entertainment doesn't always get the job.
Mm-hmm.
The person who gets the job is the person that really, it's a matter of who you know. Just to even get the foot in the door, and how you show up. You know, as a voice actor, I see new voice talent. When we were going to studios in the past and we were doing, you know, multi-character sessions, and they didn't know how to behave. And as soon as they left, they're like, I don't ever want that person in the studio again.
Yeah.
And it's a very small ecosystem, entertainment.
Yeah.
And you can't burn bridges. You have to really just be, you know, I mean, I think the superstars, the top tier talent can get away with a whole lot more. But if you're in with the fish and not the, you know, the great whites or the whales, you really have to behave. And you also have to have genuine relationships, because people in this industry know if you're their friend because you want something, or you're genuine. And if you're fake, you're not going to succeed. Doesn't matter really how talented you are.
Yeah, and that whole idea of the most talented person doesn't always get the job. There's a great phrase that I love. It's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I truly believe that if you can work really hard and be the hardest worker in the room, you can outwork the other people, and that'll shine through. And I've seen a lot of people. I've had the great fortune of interviewing, and you listed them at the top of the show, some of the biggest names in the world. And
I watch your TikTok. You just need to go to TikTok and look up Chris Van Vliet and watch his TikToks and see. Well, apparently he's interviewed The Rock at least 180,000 times, because
only
there's
9
a lot
times.
of them.
I'm not counting or anything, you know. But it's funny that when you get to the top level, when you get to the Oprahs and the Tom Cruises and the Rocks and Jennifer Aniston, the list goes on and on and on. The people that are at the very top seem to have this real generousness to them, and this real kindness, and this real self-awareness that for whatever reason doesn't exist in that like mid or lower tier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
there's the real hungry people in the middle.
Yeah.
And then there's the people that are making it, that are kind of like, oh, this TV show is going to last for the rest of my life, and I'm going to spend all the money. And they're arrogant, and they're cocky, and they're diva-ish.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quick they forget where they came from. And I think the people at the top, I've met some pretty high, I was in radio for 15 years, so I've met some incredible musicians, incredible large recording stars. And it's interesting because the ones that are not so big were kind of assholes. They really were. And the ones at the very top Like I met Neil Diamond. He was super cool. Huey Lewis was probably one of the coolest people I ever met.
Wow.
And it was right when Back to the Future came out. He was just so chill. I hung out with him and backstage for like an hour and a half, and he was super cool.
That's my favorite movie of all time, by the way.
My favorite movie of all time.
Oh
my God. I watch it all the time. I love it.
Great Scott. It's such
every
a good
time.
movie.
Every time I just flew to Dallas and I was watching it on my phone.
I love that. And I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent here, but the reason I love Back to the Future is because it shows you that moments matter in life. If this thing doesn't happen, then that thing doesn't happen. And if that thing doesn't happen, Marty McFly's not born. Like if his father wasn't a peeping Tom, falls out of the tree and onto the road and gets hit by the car, like it's that's why I love that movie so much.
When I describe Back to the Future, I tell people it's all about that moments matter. Like it's the same. That's amazing.
Wow. Are we the same person? Wow.
I don't know. Maybe
you're just
we are.
the slightly more handsome version. Wow.
Yeah, I'm the one without hair. Yeah, the one with hair. But it's amazing. I find it's so beautiful the way the universe works.
Yes.
Because there are no original thoughts or original ideas. It's whoever just reaches out and grabs them. Because we just met a couple months ago and our life has been like a parallel universe.
Yeah, it's really wild.
It's quite fascinating.
Every time you say something, I'm like, what do you mean? Me too.
I know. Well, when you said moments matter, I'm like, if you said moments matter, I'm like, oh God, he just said moments matter. That's so funny. Because that's just, and even the trademark, because my trademark, I mean, I've never said it's my trademark, but people know me and my podcast is they're very conversational. People are like, where are your questions? I go, we're just two people having a conversation. I want to get to know you out of a sense of wonderment. I don't know where this is going to go.
Yeah. And I think that podcasts are such a great medium for that too. Like I've done a lot of different styles of interview. Like a red carpet interview is 90 seconds, one or two questions, get to it. Let's promote this film and move on. Junket style interview is a little bit different because 4 or 5 minutes, but 40 or 50 people are doing an interview that day. And it's like a revolving door of different journalists. Kind of there, you got to also get to the point, build rapport super quick, make this happen. The great thing about a podcast is this mimics like a true conversation in several ways. One, this is going to last for, half an hour plus. It's amazing.
Right.
The thing I love about this more than anything else is that you're truly present in this moment. Neither of us have our phones open. We're not looking at notifications. We're not responding to somebody. You're here in this moment right now. And this is so rare in the world that we live in.
Yeah. And I like to think of it like the people that are listening is you're like a fly on the wall of Rob and Chris having a conversation. And people don't realize how intimate a medium podcasting is. And I think a lot of podcasters forget about that because the majority of people that listen to podcasts listen on headphones. And so that style of conversation, if it's, there's a lot of very aggressive sounding podcasts. And I think people get listener fatigue and they just tune out. Joe Rogan is probably, the master of that. He just has really long conversations. And it's like he's hanging out at a bar. Well, they're drinking. They're always drinking or they're smoking or doing DMT, whatever they're doing. But I think that's one of the keys to his success is his sense of wonderment.
Yes.
And his ability to just have a conversation and really genuinely have a conversation and not like have a list of a million questions, but like, well, you said this and let's go down this path. This is fascinating.
It's kind of like how years ago, and I guess still to this day, magazines would want to spend a day with someone or 2 days with someone when they're writing a feature article. If Rolling Stone or Esquire or GQ or whomever is writing a feature article, they don't just want you for 15 minutes. They want to see an entire scope of your day and of your life. And I think that podcasting allows you to do that. It's kind of like peeling the layers off an onion. And, 10 minutes maybe peels this layer off, 20 minutes maybe peels this layer off, 30 minutes, you just keep peeling those layers.
I just find it really fascinating how the words that you use are so similar to the words. I was just in Clubhouse the other day talking about podcasting. I'm like, podcasting is like peeling layers of an onion. I didn't say it as eloquent as you, but it's just funny. I'm like, I'm a very lucid dreamer. So this may just be a dream.
It might be.
Tomorrow I'm going to it may be, I don't know. At this
Pinch
point in time, I can't tell the difference between reality and sleeping sometimes.
We're just in a simulation, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
I am convinced
we're in a simulation.
I am convinced we are in a simulation. I'm convinced of it. And why is it that whenever you point yourself in the direction of something that you really badly want in life, that the universe somehow answers that back? I feel like that just can't be coincidence.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's, we were just talking about this on a show I did yesterday, interviewing a guest, and we were talking about the universe and to really be mindful and present that we have a team behind us. Like when you understand that you have a team behind you, the team of love and light and spirit behind you that really wants you to succeed. And when you're in your life's flow and doing what you're supposed to be doing, and when you're in flow, creativity just is abundant around you. Magic happens.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that what you surround yourself with can elevate that, or it can have that completely fall off.
Yeah. Who you are is a direct reflection of who you hang out with.
Yeah. And I know that that's like such a cliche, like, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But my goodness, is it true? And I think that you can take that even a step further. Like who you are is also the last 5 books you read, or the 5 books you read the most, or the 5 YouTube channels you listen to the most, or the 5 podcasts you listen to the most. And I think that that's so, so true. I used to listen before I really got into being a podcast listener. I had just moved from Cleveland to Miami, and I used to listen to morning radio back in Cleveland because it kind of made me feel like I was still there. That was my first American market, my first American TV market. And then I realized like 3 months into it, like it was great. And I definitely felt like I was back in Cleveland, but I'm like, if I'm going to spend this hour or 2 hours doing something, listening to something, my goodness, why not learn something? That's when I started listening to podcasts and listening to books on tape, audiobooks, because I was like, why not spend this hour to just pump as much information in here as possible?
Absolutely. Well, I have narrated 34 books on Audible. So if you need some content, I'll send you some promo codes.
I've only listened to one of them. What's the next one I should listen to?
Well, my book, The Law of Action. So that's available.
I've, of course, listened to
The Miracle
that
Morning.
one. I didn't read that. I listened to it. And then I had Hal on my podcast not long after.
Yeah, Hal's great. Hal has transformed my life. If you don't, I've been doing a morning routine, for 9 years now, because that's when I discovered the Miracle Morning. When I, auditioned for the Miracle Morning, and I really wanted it. I didn't know what it was. Hal had no idea how big it was going to be, but I saw it. It was on. I auditioned for it. I put all of my intention to be in that. And he goes, man, when I heard your audition, he goes, I knew you were the one. And he picked me.
Wow.
And I was not a morning person at all. And I started reading, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I used to get up at like 11 or 12. I was such not a morning person. My daughter would get up to go to school. I'd wake up at 7 o'clock and go, I love you. Okay, have a good day. Good night. Bye. I'd go back to sleep, and I'd wake up at 11 or 12 in the afternoon. And then I'd stay up all night and work. I was doing internet marketing back then. And I started reading it. I'm like, well, I'm going to start doing the Miracle Morning 30-day challenge. And I did. I started doing the Miracle Morning during the production of the book.
Wow.
And I've been doing it ever since. And my life has been pretty spectacular.
I think that Hal has created this incredible framework with the Miracle Morning.
Absolutely.
Whether you follow Hal's framework or you have your own Miracle Morning or your own morning routine, it's so important to have a routine. And it's amazing to me how many people just get out of bed after hitting the snooze alarm 6 times and then, barely throw on a pair of clothes and somehow get out the door on their way to work. And it's like, I just don't understand it.
It's really funny. Our technology, and we were having a conversation with a bunch of friends over the weekend, and we were talking about this, and we were talking about technology, how I'm getting really good about technology. I've been really bad, but now I'm keeping my phone not near me on the weekends. And it's been a really big challenge. It's been a challenge.
I could see that.
I've been doing it more and more. And then I was thinking in the morning, like, you'll remember this, before iPhones and stuff. And it sounds kind of weird, but we were talking about this and I think it was a girl that mentioned this. She goes, the one thing that I don't do in the morning that I used to do all the time before I got into my phone, it was you wake up, you stretch, you walk across the room, and you go and you take your morning pee. And we don't do that anymore. The first thing you do is you grab your phone and you're looking at your phone and you never connected with the world. And so now I don't touch my phone and I get up, I do my morning pee, but I just started just a couple of days ago. And it's amazing that little bit of time. And I'm up to like I can feel my body strain. 30 minutes.
Same.
From waking up before I touch my phone. And it has been transformational. To borrow a word from this podcast.
I've done 2 transformational things, to borrow a word from this podcast. One was not looking at my phone for the first half hour of the day. Huge, right?
So we both did that again.
Of course we did.
So funny. That's so funny.
That one's so big because you're reactional, right? When you're looking at your phone, you're reacting to the text you need to respond to, the emails you need to respond to. You feel a reaction towards the news you're seeing in your news feed. So took that out. So the first part of my day isn't me reacting to things. And the second thing is I turned off all my notifications, because I never wanted to be in a conversation again where the phone buzzed in my pocket and I was taken out of that moment going, was that an Instagram message? Was that Facebook? Was that someone texting me? Was that an email? So I turned off all notifications except for phone calls, so I can be fully present in whatever moment that I'm in.
I am doing that as well. I am really disengaging. Yes, absolutely. My phone's off. And the thing is so it's funny because I turn the ringer off all the time. I don't have anything going off. And it has really allowed me, just you said, to be more present.
And I
will tell you, when I was on, let me tell you how bad I was. I'd do a podcast and I had my phone in front of me like this, and I'd be watching all my alerts. Look.
And most of those alerts don't actually need your attention. Like if someone commented on your Instagram photo or someone followed you on TikTok, you don't really need to know. Or if you do need to know, you don't need to know in the moment. And that's the thing I think we're just so addicted to that idea of like knowing everything that's going on all at once.
I don't want to know. I want to live in my bliss bubble. The world is so crazy right now. I just want to, I am committed to live in my bliss bubble and to have attention on things that I can change or make a difference in.
Yes.
And if I can't, I really don't want to know about it. I'm sure, I will hear it from other people because they're going to keep me up to date on whatever's happening.
Yep.
But I don't want to know about it. Like the only alert that I got here, we've had some really big storms lately in Arizona, like big storms. We had a tornado.
Come on, it doesn't rain there. Come on.
Oh, we get our monsoon, like 60, 70 mile an hour winds, our haboob and all that stuff. It's crazy. Wow. And when that comes out, it's an alert over your phone, even if it's all muted. It just comes out. It's a big weather advisory. Pull over.
You can turn those off if you want, but those are important.
Well, I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to call you and see how to do that.
I'll let you know.
It's been I'm calmer.
Yeah.
When you don't let this phone, and it's funny because now my phone is in the pocket and I can feel it vibrated in my pocket and it's not in my pocket.
That's interesting. It's funny because when you do this, you're in the driver's seat now. And I think that when your phone is buzzing all the time, and that's where you and I both were before, then your phone's in the driver's seat. And that's what's really, that has the wheel. Now we're in the driver's seat. I love you and I have been talking for the last hour plus, including the time that we weren't recording. And I love that I can look at my phone right now and there's 0 notifications on there. It just makes me feel so good.
Yeah. I don't have any, let me see. Oh yeah. Oh wow. Oh wow. Well, these are not okay. Well, that's a lot. But I don't know about it. Which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll see them. They're just the texts, whatever, that come up.
Sure.
Whatever.
Sure.
So there's a lot of that. But I have been totally engaged in this conversation, and it's been really freeing. I think actually it started at Bottle Rock.
It did. Yeah, for sure it did.
Because I didn't touch my phone. I mean, I was there present because we were having conversations.
Yeah. And I think we've all become so bad at like not being present in those moments. And I especially when you're at a big festival like that, like you're never going to get the moment back, right? You can't go back and relive a moment. And I think it's important to not only be in that moment, but to be present in that moment. And I'll take it one step further to like imprint those moments in your mind so you can go back to them later on. I often will be at a concert, or maybe it's a red carpet event, or I'm just about to interview so-and-so, and I'll go, I just want to take a snapshot of this. I just want to just look around for 10, 15 seconds, take it all in. The sights, the sounds, the smells, everything. Wait, you do this too?
Yes. And it's funny that what you say is, so I'm an ordained minister, and I have a conversation with the bride and groom, and I say, I want you to stop for a moment and just take a breath.
Yeah.
I want you to face your partner and just look them in the eyes. And I want you to get in sync with your breath, with each other. And I want you to remember this moment. This moment will be forever embedded in your brain, because what's going to come out of my mouth in the next few seconds is going to transform your life. And you're going from one side of a bridge to the other side of a bridge.
Yes.
And you're doing it together. And I want you to be able to go back in time and remember this moment. The moment when I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. And the one thing that really means the most to me, and people come up and they say, oh my God, you did a great job. Thank you. Is they I love that moment. I wish that would have happened at my wedding, because it went by so fast. I don't even remember it, because they're rushing up to get to the wedding. They're rushing in the wedding. They're never present.
Yep.
They're still rushing and thinking about the reception. I had them slow down.
Yes.
To
That's so good.
0 RPMs, because look, the one thing, you ever have a near-death experience?
I don't know how close I was to death. No.
Well, okay. Well, I have, and I'm glad that you haven't. It's not a pleasant thing.
I bet.
But I will tell you, the one thing that I have discovered, and a lot of other people that have near-death experiences, is when you think you're going to die, you don't miss any material object. You miss the moments that you think you're never going to have again. That's what you miss, the moments. And, life comes at you fast. And the best advice that I could give anyone today would be, take time out to breathe and be in the moment.
Yeah.
And your life will dramatically change, because if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you have anxiety, you're living in the future. And be in the present moment. There's a lot of crazy going on. And right now is a time to be really in the present moment, because that's what's happening right now. And the future can change so quick. I mean, it does every minute of every second right now.
Right.
In whatever, simulation we're in. So be in the super present moment and really connect with human beings, because that's all that's really important in life.
Wow. You should write a book about that. That's so profound. I love that. And I feel like not only is it important to be present and in the moment, but it's to be grateful for what's going on. And gratitude has changed my life.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are definitely on a very similar life path. Gratitude is one of the most, if you're stressed out about the world, before you go to bed, just have gratitude. Like, one thing is, I'm breathing. Like, I've almost died a couple of times. And so when I wake up in the morning, the first thing that I do before I open my eyes, I'm like, I'm so grateful that I have another day. I mean,
Same.
I'm alive. I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm awake. Okay, I'm alive.
Yeah.
That's the most, and I think that people take living for granted. I think that they think tomorrow is going to be there. And I'll be honest, I'll be terribly direct and honest with you. At any moment, your life can change.
Yeah.
My 14-year-old daughter, that happened. She had 4 strokes and a blood clot in her brain and had brain surgery and went into a coma. Talk about your life slamming the brakes. It can happen. And then I had stuff happen to me. So, the biggest gift that, this conversation we can share is, both you and I, is live in the moment.
Yeah.
And have gratitude for everything that we have, the people that love us and that care about us.
Yeah. It's impossible to be simultaneously grateful and upset at the same time. Because how could you possibly be upset if you're looking at the things that you're grateful for?
Now that, you should write a book. That's a beautiful line, man. I'm going to take that. You're going to put that on TikTok. That was great. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
I'll put that on TikTok.
Dude, you're on my For You page, like every other thing. I see more of your TikToks.
Then. Good.
It is working. I hope
you're
working.
liking them. Thank you.
I do like them. I do, and I make little comments, but you haven't responded to any of them. So you haven't even liked. I've looked for a like by the creator, and I'm like, I haven't seen that.
Oh, I've also stopped looking.
One time you did. One time you did.
There we go. I've stopped looking at comments because people are so negative, and I don't need that in my life.
No. But you know what? 10% of the population is going to not like you anyways. And you know how successful you are because the more people that don't like you, well, you're very successful because a lot of people don't like you.
I'll take it, I guess.
I know, right? Hey, Chris, man, thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you.
Thank you for extending the invitation. And I appreciate your friendship. And I can't wait to see you again in person, give you that hug again soon.
Absolutely. I might be coming out to LA sooner than you can.
Let me know.
You think. You never know.
Let me know.
I will. I know. I hear you're building an audition for me out there. I can hear it in the background.
Yeah, you can.
Right? The Rob Room. I really appreciate being here. Thanks so much.
No, I appreciate you. I'm so glad that we can make this happen. And this conversation for me, with a lot of the things you've said, has been very transformational. So I would hope this is affecting everybody that's listening to it too.
Well, this is Life Transformation Radio. Thank you so much for your support and taking time out of your busy and precious day or night to listen. So appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me, along my very special guest, friend, Chris Van Vliet, to touch your heart, move your soul, make you laugh, and inspire you to live a life of transformation. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Download complete.